It's Emmanuel Manning, another video. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's get into the second part of the Categorizing the Goblin series. So part one, we looked at the Osborne, Legacy, Experimental Mutated Goblins, and now we're going to look at the Hobgoblin. So this overview will not include any alternate universe goblins. We got to look at the Hobgoblin main. So these are Hobgoblin characters that assume the mantle for some significant amount of time. So we got to start with Roderick Kingsley, the first and the original Hobgoblin. Was an ethical, wealthy fashion designer, very power hungry. So he would assume control a lot of Norman Osborn's layers, refine some of the equipment, and he would develop this Hobgoblin persona. So he often used brainwashed individuals as stand-ins. So we're going to see later on in the comics, the Axis storyline, a lot of supervillains would become superheroes. So Roderick Kingsley, Hobgoblin, would be one of these individuals. And he rebranded himself as a good guy later on. So we're going to see that the second Hobgoblin, Donovan Lefty, was a petty criminal that was basically used as a test subject for Roderick Kingsley. So Roderick Kingsley wanted to test out the goblin serum. He wanted to eliminate the side effect of insanity. So he used Donovan Lefty to test it out. He saw Donovan Lefty in battle with Spiderman and then later had him killed. We have the third Hobgoblin, Ned Leeds. So he's a Daily Bugle reporter. So he would be tracking down Roderick Kingsley, Hobgoblin. Roderick Kingsley discovered him and then brainwashed him and used him as a stand, and he would be killed and then returned from the dead in comics recently. We have the fourth Hobgoblin, Jason Macendale. So he's a former mercenary, and he's also the Jack-o'-lantern villain, Spider-Man villain, who I'll mention a bit later. He had Ned Leeds murdered, and then he assumed the mantle of the Hobgoblin. So he would also be killed by Roderick Kingsley. So we're going to see that Jason Macendale, he would get these cybernetic enhancements in the comic books before he was killed, and this is what he looked like. We have the fifth Hobgoblin. So this is Phil Urich, nephew to Ben Urich, famous investigative journalist for the Daily Bugle. He assumed several other goblin identities. I mentioned that in part one. He would eventually be driven insane. He has the goblin serum in his system. So he went to one of Osborn's lairs. He discovered Daniel Kingsley Hobgoblin there, and then he would kill him, and then he would become the Hobgoblin, the fifth one. All right, so we have the subcategory Hobgoblin short-lived. So these are characters that assume the mantle of the Hobgoblin for a very, very, very short time, maybe a few panels or pages in the comics. We have the Claude Hobgoblin, Roderick Kingsley's butler, brainwashed by Roderick Kingsley. So he was used as a stand-in to fight Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, and then he was killed in battle with Norman Osborn. We have Daniel Kingsley Hobgoblin, Roderick Kingsley's brother. So he was an assassin for the Kingpin, and as I mentioned, he was killed by Phil Urich. We have the Secret Wars Hobgoblin. His identity was never revealed. He's one of the villains who attacked the heroes during the Secret Wars storyline, and then he was arrested, and we haven't seen him since. All right, so we have the Hobgoblin Supernatural. So these are Hobgoblin characters or related characters that have supernatural abilities. So we have the Jason Macendale demonic Hobgoblin. So Jason Macendale as the fourth Hobgoblin. Later on in the comics, he attempted to sell his soul for power to a demon. He did gain supernatural abilities from this demon, resisted certain magic, flame projectiles, etc. But he had to share the body with a demon that'd be pushing him to become a religious zealot and trying to hunt down sinners. We would see that the demon would basically separate himself from Jason Macendale and then become the Demo Goblin. So he would continue his sinner hunting mission, maintain his supernatural abilities, and then later on he would die in the comic book several times. So we would see he would be resurrected and put in Shriek's body during the Absolute Carnage storyline. He would have his same powers plus Shriek's powers, including sonic powers, but he would be given this feminine look and then be called Demogoblin. Okay, just as I mentioned, Jason Macendale, before he became the fourth Hobgoblin, he assumed the identity of the Jack-o'-lantern. So one of the reasons I put him in this category, Miscellaneous, is because I consider him kind of a goblin type of character. He has a type of glider and kind of Halloween-themed costume. And it should be noted that Norman Osborn disguised himself as the Hobgoblin in Superior Spider-Man 24. Alright guys, that is it. So I thank you for watching parts 1 and 2. If you have any questions, let me know. Any errors that I made, let me know if I missed something or somebody. And as always, all that good stuff. Please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for everything.